What's going on YouTube? 6'5" Rider here. Coming back to you from Sturgis. This video is going to be a little bit separate than my Sturgis ride videos. We're right here at the Nowaskey tent. We're going to go ahead and get my suspension setup updated. As you guys have known, I've not been happy with the Geezer engineering setup, and a couple of friends of mine and a couple of people from Instagram recommended Nowaskey Performance. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the front swapped over as well as the rears. Pete just went out and took my bike for a test ride, and once he's back, we're gonna have him talk to us about what they're planning to do on the bike and what's different, you know, about the Nowaskey suspension versus anything else out there. All right, stay tuned. Hey everyone, so I'm here with Pete Nowaskey of Nowaskey Performance, and Pete's gonna hook me up with front cartridges and then rear suspension for my bike because he knows all the issues that I've been going through. I came to him here in Sturgis and explained to him everything that I've been feeling with the bike. You guys know I've been complaining about this for a while now, so I have a lot of faith that Pete's product is gonna fix all my issues. Pete, can you tell us what we're doing on the bike today?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is get him set up with our cartridges in the front with our +2 extensions. And then we're gonna do a 14-inch remote reservoir rear shock as well. With that remote reservoir shock, we're gonna have the maximum amount of adjustability and the maximum amount of options to get the ride dialed in correctly, which I know we can do. So we're gonna get them set up and hopefully make the next few miles better. So,
yeah, and I'm definitely excited about that. And one thing that you mentioned to me is that with the travel, I think you said you have 3 inches of travel here?
We do, yep.
Right. So that's really good because, like, as you guys know, I'm a much bigger guy. I weigh 275, I'm 6'5", and I need all the travel I can get. With the old suspension setup, I was bottoming out like crazy, and even Pete knows that because even when I came here, he tied a zip tie to my suspension. I went out for a ride and it went all the way down. So yeah, that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, so one thing about our suspension is we offer multiple different spring rates. So getting the spring right is the most important thing initially. And we have more spring rates and more options available than anybody in the market. And our springs are also interchangeable with no tools. So I'll just show you that quick. Also, the spring preload is able to be done by hand with no tools as long as there's no added weight on the bike, and you don't have to worry about this coming loose. So you simply run that preload adjuster to the top, pull our slotted cup off, and boom, you got a spring change. So that's very unique, and we can get people set up and dialed in right off the bat. So we also have a tattletale O-ring on the shaft, and basically this monitors your suspension travel, and that's important so we know how much of the travel we're using. So that's why I put zip ties around the other shocks right away so I could monitor that and figure out, okay, is it bottoming out, is it too stiff, what's going on? This indicator helps us get people set up. We also offer a large NASCAR style 1-inch Heim joint top and bottom. This is really important for shock rotation and chassis flex because we don't want to introduce load into this shaft and bind things up. So we want this shock to move freely. And by using this large, wide Heim joint, no matter what you use for fasteners, you can't jam it up. You can't screw it up. I shouldn't say that. You probably can, but it'd be really hard to. So another thing is our nitrogen reservoirs on our remote reservoir shocks. We have a billet piston in here that separates the nitrogen and the oil. A lot of companies use a rubber diaphragm. This is far more high tech, more consistent pressure. We can run higher pressure. We also have double O-ring fittings, top and bottom here, so there's nothing to jam up or come loose or anything here. So this reservoir and line and fitting setup is the same thing you'll find on a Formula One race car. It's the exact same technology that we've incorporated into our suspension. You have 6 points of compression adjustment up here, and then we have 80 points of rebound adjustment down here with a nice ball clicker. So that's a very broad range.
That's 80 as in 80?
80
oh, wow.
on the rebound.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What's really unique about Nowaskey suspension is that every single shock is individually dyno tested and tuned and paired with its perfect partner. So there's a serial number on every shock, and those are not necessarily going to be sequential, and that's because the next one in the batch might not perfectly match the next one. So if we do 50 or 100 shocks, once they fall within our parameters, then they're matched within those parameters to their perfect partner. So you have perfectly balanced ride left and right.
Amazing.
And that's super important for handling and on these baggers, taking the wallowing out of the turns and making sure everything is operating equally from one side to the other. So these shocks are 100% made in the USA and warranted for life. So another thing that I would like to talk about here, we've had a lot of conversation about rebound and compression. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up one of our dual adjustable shocks here. This is a 14-inch dual adjustable, and I'm going to quickly explain compression and rebound and what those adjustments do. So down here we have our clicker, plus and minus. Minus softens it up, plus stiffens it up. And on this particular shock, it's 70% rebound, 30% compression adjusted simultaneously on this one clicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften this up as much as we can. And this is the definition of compression, how quickly I can push it together. This is rebound, how quickly it comes apart. So I'm going to do it again so you can see how easily I pushed it together and how it came apart. Now, let's go all 80 clicks to slow the action down to the stiffest setting. Now I'll push it together.
Oh yeah.
It's much more difficult. I'm not weak. There we go. Now watch it come apart slowly. That's rebound. So when we talk about slowing down compression or slowing down rebound, we're determining how quickly the shock compresses or how quickly it goes back to its riding position. And those adjustments are important to getting the ride right. The main job of the spring that we talked about in the beginning, the reason we have to get this right is we need just enough spring to hold up the weight of the motorcycle and the rider, but not too much spring that is too stiff and we struggle to compress it. So the spring holds up the load and allows the shock to determine how quickly the spring compresses or rebounds. So that's just a quick little simple
that was
explanation.
amazing. That was amazing. That was a lot of good detail. And I think one thing that really separates you guys from a lot of other products is what you mentioned earlier, like with the small details that you guys really care about, like the serial number.
So each shock has a pedigree or a history,
Yeah.
right? So if you buy shocks from us, you can go onto our website and register those. But no matter what, we can go back and we can find the dyno results of that shock or what may or may not have happened or comparisons or whatever, right? We can go back and find that data.
And how many different spring rates do you guys have? You accommodate all types of rider weights, right?
Yeah, so we currently have 7 different spring rates that we use. And that depends on if it's a bagger or a Dyna or a Sportster. It depends, also on the angle of the shock for the motorcycle that you're riding. So the more angle you have in a shock, the heavier spring you need to hold up the weight. The more vertical the shock is, the lighter it is. So
like Dynas or whatever, how it's like angled all the way down.
Yeah, so we recommend heavier spring rates for the weight because of the angle.
Right.
So the good thing is if you go on my website, we have recommendations on there based on weight of what spring you can choose. And I would never worry about having anxiety about choosing the wrong one, because if you feel it isn't right, you can call up and talk to me. I handle all the tech support and questions, and if you chose the wrong spring, then we'll get you swapped out to the proper spring. And based on this tattletale O-ring and me talking on the phone, we can determine how we get your ride right. So
there you go. With customer support, I mean, you'll get to talk to the owner himself, and he'll be able to help you out with any issues that you guys might be having.
Yeah, so we just feel that option A and B isn't enough, and the more options you have, the better we can dial it in for each individual person.
Beautiful. And then for my setup, I'm getting +2 up front, and so you guys offer an adapter.
Yeah, so with our cartridges, these are +2 adapters that work for our cartridge. So you need a +2 fork tube first of all, and then you loosen this nut, or we would do it for you. Loosen the nut, pull the leg off, screw the extension on, screw the leg back on, and boom, you have a +2. We have +3 for dyno, or we can do custom applications.
Wow, okay.
One thing
awesome.
I didn't mention earlier that I'd like to mention is that
please.
our shocks are the lightest shocks in the industry. This shock with a spring and the collar is a total of 3 pounds.
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday when I picked it up. I was like, holy shit, is this actually real? Or is it just like a sample? You know, I thought it was just a sample. But yeah, it's super light.
That's a testament to high quality components. So it's 33% lighter than your factory shocks on a late model Harley. Our remote reservoir shocks are 4.2 pounds. So even if you put remote reservoir shocks on with brackets, it's still lighter than your factory suspension.
Wow.
And performance and weight go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So it's all high quality CNC machine billet parts. It's not cast aluminum or whatever.
That's
right?
amazing.
All this stuff was born in racing.
And for the front suspension, is there any adjustability there?
So
to the rider weight?
Yeah, so you can adjust the spring preload here. Because on touring bikes it's really hard to access it, what we did is we found a really nice window that accommodates almost everybody. Now we will launch a completely adjustable front, but we have found that what we have in the front used with our rear accommodates 90% of the people, and with a preload adjustment we can get that person dialed in even further. But yeah, also a very lightweight product, and all the same things that apply to the shocks apply to the cartridges as well.
And then for the rear shocks, you offer the brackets as well, and those are sold separately, right?
Yep. So up here we have an example of that. So this is our rear mount here. It's missing a screw. It's a display part, right? Okay. But these are also lightweight billet aluminum reservoir mounts. So this is for a late model bike. We also have for early models 08 and down a T-mount bracket.
Oh, those are cool too, yeah.
So
and it comes in both raw and black.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Cool.
So
well, I'm really excited to try it. Thank you, Pete. Really appreciate your time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, and I'll definitely be reporting back. But you know, to be able to come to an event like this and see, you know, the owner himself of a company, you know, explaining all this information to us, I think is super valuable. You're always at all the rallies, right?
So yes, we're always at Sturgis at Black Hills Harley, and we do other events like Daytona and other smaller events as well.
Beautiful.
But you can always hit our website or our social media, Nowaskey Performance.
Yeah, you'll find everything in the description down below. Will you guys be in Daytona for Oktoberfest this year?
I can't answer that question yet.
Okay.
We'll probably be there in the spring though.
Cool. I'll report on that once I find out as well and let you know. All right. Thank you, Pete. Really appreciate it. If you stayed through the whole video, found it valuable, don't forget to go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and while you do that, just enjoy this beauty right here. Enjoy this beauty. That's a Bagger Racing League bike that's built and sponsored by the Nowaskey team. All right. Hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Later.